Thanks for doing this. Let me set up a little context before we jump into our conversation today. Kamil and Emil, they run Have No Code, which is one of the fastest growing development agencies specifically focused on no code, Bubble, Xano in Poland. They've also started the first no code academy called App to You, again in Poland. Very pioneering, I think, in the in the no code space, specifically in that area. Now, it's interesting to me because one of the first things that I notice is that there are pockets of like no code popularity that pop up all over the world, like Brazil, for example, Colombia, but I don't hear much about Poland. So if I didn't know you guys, honestly, I would have no other contacts there that are in this space. So that's kind of the first thing that I wanted to ask you is like, what is the perception of no code in Poland, and like, is it growing? You guys feel like you're on an uphill battle? How does it feel over there?
Yeah, so first of all, John, thank you really for this amazing introduction of us. And maybe I will introduce myself a little bit. My name is Kamil, and I'm the co-founder of Have No Code and Up to You Academy. Have No Code is software development company, and we're focusing, of course, only on the no code, as John said. So right now we're operating for more than 1.5 years. We already do a lot of projects for customers from the United States and of course from the Europe. But you, John, have perfect question, I think, because in my opinion, Europe, as always, in every tech space, are several years behind the United States. United States always leading in the tech industry. You always have something in mind. There is a lot of early adopters, etc. Every innovation in the tech industry, most of them, of course, was done in the United States, applied in there, and then move it to the whole Europe, not only to Poland, but in the whole Europe. And you are absolutely right that in the Poland, we're still struggling with get people know what is a no code, what is it about, what can we do with that. But when we starting 1.5 year ago, it was even worse because we need to
Yeah.
be evangelist right from the beginning. When we're coming to someone and telling them, hey, we're doing software, oh, that's super, in which technology? No code. What is that? We need to know to explain a lot of stuff. But we're thinking that the whole Europe have this similar problem. That this is something what I already say, that we are several years behind United States always. And of course, I think that right now in the Europe, the France maybe have a leading movement about the no code. But I think that's also because one of the Bubble co-founder have his roots in the France. So
Right.
maybe why, but I'm not really sure. Of course, France is also recognized by several big companies in the IT industry, but it's only my guessing. I don't really know why, but we're thinking that we are pretty aligned with Gartner predictions that in 2024 the no code will be responsible for 65% of the whole market of the application, because we see that right now in the Poland there is significant difference and increases of attractiveness to this topic.
I really hope that Gardner is right about that because
Yeah.
I really
like
hope to.
Yeah.
I think we're all betting on that.
Yeah, definitely. We still waiting for this, the marketing slang or claim aha moment. We're still waiting for that when it will happen actually, because a lot of media, journalists, marketing specialists, content writers are talking about no code possibilities, low code possibilities, about Bubble even, particularly. But still, we see that there is a huge bottleneck on the market. If we're talking about IT specialists, not only about the developers, but quality assurance engineers, about business analysts, about project managers, about developers, full scope of them, we're still talking about growing bottleneck, and it's still this bottleneck is tighter and tighter. And we see that a lot of people is getting interested about it, but still has some doubts. It's something like a few years ago with the cloud solutions. So it happens like, okay, so first we say no, definitely no. It's not safe. It's something simple for simple stuff. But after that, it's a kind of curiosity. Okay, so we won't say anything, but we start to read about it. And now we have a situation when a lot of people are starting to consider it as a solution for them, to simplify the development process, to make it faster, and to spend less building some digital products. So this is the moment that we have in Poland right now.
Speaking to the aha moment, and I think we're all still waiting for that to happen too. And I think real truth. Thanks for joining. They say that here, even like the independent tech movement, and I think that's like super relevant to the type of work that we're doing, because even though, the outside perception is that yes, America is always on the cutting edge of technology, but that is very focused on a very small population, even within the United States, that's on the West Coast, right? Like all of the most influential companies, LinkedIn, Google, Netflix, they're all based in California, right? So I think part of this, and Emmanuel and Josh talk about the democratization of building software. It does enable individuals and smaller groups like us to have an impact and create software that's useful. So I don't know what that spark is. You know what I mean? I don't know what the spark is where it does catch on here, there. I mean, I think everywhere it's starting to at least be known. But how did you guys even, when you because like you say, a year or 2 years ago, this wasn't even there was no even awareness about it, and even now it's still, and sometimes feels that way. So how did you guys decide even to build an agency around such a new technology that's coming out?
Yeah,
I think the innovator here is Kamil. So Kamil, go ahead.
Yeah, so my roots are in the IT industry because from the beginning of my career I was responsible for implementing servers on, of course, Microsoft technologies, and I started my journey with Microsoft Exchange and the other stuff. So I was responsible for that. And when the whole or the whole movement about the cloud starts to begin, Office 365, Google Workspace, moving everything to cloud, I also start this journey. So I moved from the on-premises servers to the cloud technologies and to Office 365 especially, and I was the consultant in the Capgemini for Office 365 especially. So after several years, when I start my journey with Office 365, they revealed the product which was called Power Apps, of course. And the Power Apps is the low-code technology platform in which we could build internal tools, Power BIs, and several other stuff, yeah, like Power Bots and the others. And I was pretty amazed because I was never been a kind of programmer on something like that. And I was pretty amazed that, hey, right now, I'm moving my customers to the cloud, and right now I could build some automations for them. That's pretty amazing because there is a lot of automation which could be done, in the big companies, which Capgemini serves, of course. And another thing is that hey, if I could do those automations, I even could build my own application. But there is the one problem, of course, that Power Apps is only for internal tools, and I have idea for my own application. Of course, as every founder has its own idea for some kind of unicorn startup or something like that. So I'm start looking for tools which will allows me to build application like in the Power Apps, but in the SaaS model. So it will be available for everyone globally. And this way I found out the Bubble.io, Tankable, and several others. I start digging them and we start building those those application within the bubble because it is the most powerful tool. So after that, of course, I have this aha moment in my head that, I'm building right now the application with my co-founder, and it's pretty risky to do that because we really don't know how it will fit the market, if we will make money on that, etc. But there is a big gap in the whole software creation market. So there is a lot of gap within the programmers because only in the European Union, there is lack of 8K thousand of programmers. So there is a lot of people missing on this market. So I'm thinking that if I could do this software for myself, it means that I could do this for everybody else as well because I have those IT knowledge. So I'm pretty sure that I could handle the best practices, the security of this application, that I will take care about the quality of those applications, etc., etc. So also in my mind, I have this idea that it is much more safe to build software for others, for other founders, for other companies, than to start with some kind unicorn, because unicorns are pretty rarely to seen. So that's how we found the have no code with Emil and Maciej as well.
I didn't know that you started with Power Apps. I've tried to use Power Apps before. But I also found it after Bubble, and I found it pretty difficult to use. And that's probably because I wasn't coming from like a Microsoft like 365. Like, I've used it at companies, but never on like the administrative or tech end of it.
Yeah.
I found it a pretty challenging tool to learn.
Yeah, because Power Apps is more like low-code tool. You need to know some kind of language because, of course, in the Power Apps, it's looked quite differently than in the Bubble to build some formulas or queries or something like that. So that's why it's probably more challenging for you than the Bubble because Bubble is more for daily users, I could call them. So it's more readable for everyone than the Power Apps, which is more technical, definitely.
Understood. So shifting a little bit to kind of like because you started talking about like the agency work and building apps for other people. Do you see any like major differences between the Polish market, European market broader, and as compared to the North American or just American market? I don't know if you kind of bunch Canada and the US together when you're thinking about like, all right, like, we're going to target clients in North America. Like I don't have any perspective around that. So how do you think about that?
So it's pretty interesting thing when we're talking about comparing these two markets, because we see big differences between them, but not maybe specific country differences. Of course, there will be, but they are more sophisticated than overview differences, but general differences. I think that we could compare United States market with the European market. And why? One simple reason. We often see that people and companies in the United States are pretty and only focusing on problem solving only at the beginning, of course. In the Europe, every company would be more sophisticated. What I mean by that, when we're talking with the customers from the United States, they talking only mostly, of course, 90%, I think, about the features, what they will do, what they would like to bring to the market. When we're asking them about the UI or how the application should look like, let's think about that later. Right now, we need to build those functionality. Right now, it could look like a crap. If it will be clean and readable for our users, that's enough.
Okay, so you're saying that in the US, it's more focused on functionality first, Whereas
Function ID first, lean startup, go to the market, test it with your customers, and iterate on the feedback on your users. Don't guess it, make it,
Yeah, let's.
make it tested.
And
Yeah, yeah,
got
That's
you.
the approach from the United States people. In the
yeah.
Europe,
Go ahead, Emil.
Sorry, customer says, okay, let's spend as less as possible, let's validate on the market, and then let's invest further. So that's the direction, because they don't put too much effort and too much focus on the designs, etc. So the funny thing is that the first or second meeting with the US customer for us was kind of funny, because we saw some part of application built, and we saw it was developed partially, and we saw it was kind of it worked on the market, and it has some users, but it looked as a mess. They were like, oh my, in Poland or in Europe, probably anyone wouldn't be able to share that with anyone, maybe with family at this phase, sorry.
yeah,
So in the US, we are more focused on the functionalities. Then we, at the end, maybe at the final phase, we add this kind of magic touch. So when design needs love, we then add it, and then we do this kind of wow effect. So this is the way how it works.
I think that's I think that's accurate to say, and it's interesting to see to hear that your clients in the European Union are more focused. They want that the design, it has to look good, right? It can't be released until it looks good. I think that I adopt definitely the American side of this mentality. It's like I'm more concerned with whether it works or not, because I just think that there's always this question of, is it even possible first, and then if it's possible, okay, then we can pay some attention to the user experience and design. But I've also kind of come, in working with designers and understanding their perspective. Like, I'm sure this kills Maciek. Maciek is the designer at Have No Code. There is a perception thing of when your app doesn't look nice, right? People may not trust it as much. They may be less willing to give it a try if it doesn't have the the look and feel that they're used to on Tinder, because everyone's using apps every day now. But
yeah. And I would like to add here one thing, because I think that it's pretty interesting topic which you mentioned, because of course when we're talking about the traditional approach to software development, I totally agree and totally understand approach when we're talking about, okay, let's build only the feature, try test it with your customer, and then iterate on the feedback, because it makes sense. I think that it's a better approach than to build the perfect solution when you don't have any data about what your user will like. But right now we have this problem that there is a lot of different applications which solving a lot of different problems. And even now, when we right now have a no-code approach in which we could iterate much more quickly, we have a lot of more competitors on the market. What does this mean? It means that when we will develop some application which will solve some problem, we will have competitors which could look better and solve the similar problem in the similar way. Of course, there will be some differences, but they will look better. And of course, they also will iterate quite quickly. So in my opinion, those two approaches, because of the no-code and thanks to no-code, should be quite mixed. Because as we could iterate quite quickly, it still will be much more lower rates and much more lower value to develop the proper software with quite proper look, not perfect one, but something what looks quite good and which is solving the problem. It will be much more easier for you to go on the market, not to scare your people, your customer, with how your application looks like, and then get the feedback from them and iterate based on that.
I also think that there's when we have apps that are out there, like say we're promoting Bubble as our dev stack, right? Like if there's a bunch of applications out there that don't look that great, people are going to get the impression that that's because you can't build pretty apps on Bubble, where the problem really is that people are just not focusing on the design component of what they're building. So I can see why that becomes, and I took that the approach that approach, I think early on. I think it was a bit of an immature way for me to think about, like, don't focus on design, just do this. You have to do both, right? I think you should be paying. I don't think that either, like, both functionality and design, I don't think you should think of those as separately. They should happen together. And I don't think you should necessarily develop too long before releasing it, but you should be paying attention to both of those components as you're releasing your first version.
It has to
Yeah,
look good enough. That's the sentence we should be focused on. Good enough, because putting too much pressure on the designs at the very first stage, it's an issue for the owner and for the future users as well, because it doesn't matter if you have a great design, but functionalities are not good enough, because the biggest focus should be on the functionalities. So if something solves your problem, it's better than it looks better.
What do you both see as some of the challenges with Bubbles or no code in general? Not just Bubble. I know Bubble is our go-to, but just no code in general. What do you see as some of the challenges with their messaging and how they present their platforms to, get their own customers, because they're trying to get users on their platform?
yeah. So I think that there is several problems which they what they saying about their software, but I think that the biggest problem about the no code and people who doing no code is people who saying, "Hey, let's build application within 72 hours." Man, come on. What you would like to build within 3 days of work? What you will do? Be honest with your audience. Be honest with your customers. What you can do within that time frame. Of course, you can build something. Of course, but let's say that it won't be cutting edge tech app. For sure not. And I think that if there is a lot of people who saying those things about the no code whole thing, there is a lot of question mark at the director's head or any other people who make decision in the companies that, hey, if they saying that they could build something within 3 days, it couldn't be serious, because they know that traditional software development takes, for example, half year, 1 year. So if they have this comparison, how we could even split it by half of this time, which is of course doable with the no code, but still it's pretty hard to imagine that how you can even build something what is worth your attention within 3 days. And I think that's the biggest problem, because a lot of people saying and doing the marketing like, hey, we will build your app within 2 weeks, within 10 days, within 2 days. So I saw from several no-code entrepreneurs on the LinkedIn that they saying, hey, let's build application within 72 hours or within 48 hours or within 1 week. Of course, some idea validation could be done within this time frame to build pretty simple POC, proof of concept only, but not for the application for sure. We need to do designs. We need to think of the database structure. We need to think of the whole application structure. We need to do first mockups. We need to do front end. We need to do back end. We need to do some quality assurance testing. So there is a lot of things which needs to be done within the application development, not only the development of this application, to be sure that you're building the right product. So I think that's the biggest problem, that a lot of people misunderstanding what is no code for and what can be done with it. Because right now, when we're saying those things about the no code, most of the business thinking that, hey, it's some kind of toy for checking your idea only, and then go to the traditional software development companies and build it in there. That's not true, because in the Bubble, in the Zano, in the Flutter Flow, we could build amazing production application who can handle a lot of hundreds of thousands of users. So I I think that's the biggest problem.
Yeah, the different perspective is about using templates. We're not a huge fan of using templates because we see that a lot of people, freelancers and even agencies, use templates and saying, okay, let's buy it for $100 and let's build only 20% of the whole application, and then the magic happens. So that's the issue because. From our perspective, the main focus is on the quality of the platform that we build, of the digital product that we build to our customers. And if we use, for example, template, and we use it, and we don't know who builds it and how it was planned to build it, what was the architecture of the workflows of that whole platform, we need to deep dive, we need to sink in, and we need to spend time on that. At the final phase, it could happen that we spend more time that we could build this from scratch. So usually people say, let's build only 20% of that. The design is fine and the total platform works well. So I want to do only some tweaks.
Yeah.
And, this is something like a nightmare.
Yeah. I think we've had a few good examples of where no code's messaging goes wrong in the way that the clients come to us, right? So a couple of, I'm not gonna call their names out, but a couple of examples that we've had on calls is like, oh, if I had your knowledge, I'd be able to do this in an hour.
Yeah.
Not true. It's not true. Just
Not
because
true.
just because you have the knowledge of how to build something, that doesn't mean that you know exactly how to build. There's still a whole figuring out part that we need to do, coming up with an approach. And there's just like, it takes 72 hours. So you mentioned that as a number. It will take 72 hours just to understand the client's idea, right? Just to really
Yeah.
deep dive in, like, okay, now I understand what you need, and now I can start coming up with an approach. So to say idea to app proof of concept in 72 hours, it sets bad expectations for specifically for an agency relationship. And honestly, if even if it's someone just going to no code, building it themselves, and they have no concept of how, they've never built an app before, I think that sets the wrong expectation too, because they have to learn and build at the same time, right?
Yeah.
They're not going to do that in such a short time frame. So I think that messaging, I think it got, I can't say that it didn't do what it was supposed to do. It brought people to the platforms, and I think that's a good thing. But I think the next step in this is to market how powerful these platforms, as Kamil, you point out, you can scale to 100,000 users on these platforms using, even native Bubble. You could scale to 100,000 users, and which is a demonstration of how powerful it is, not how fast it was to build.
But to do that, you need to know how to build the application with the best practices. Because if you build this quickly, for sure it will be crappy. The database structure will work slowly. The pages will work slowly because you don't stick to the best practices. So we need still, in the no-code market, we need to evangelize and show to the users that no-code is not a toy. And that's the whole problem, because I, of course, respect how the no-code companies declaring that, hey, right now everybody could develop their application. Of course they can, because the entry level is much more lower than in the traditional approach. But still, there is a lot of things to learn about the IT, about the databases, about the front end, about the back end, about how the workflows should work, etc., about the loops. There is a lot of stuff to be learned. Of course, much lesser than in the traditional approach, but still you need to learn. You need to know what you're doing, how you're doing that, etc., etc.
What do you both think that aha moment is going to be for as Bubble, so a tool like Bubble is adopted into the larger development stack. What do you think that what's it going to take to get there? Is it that we need an application that has 1 million users and it's a household name, like, and everybody knows about it and it's built on Bubble? Like, what is that going to take in order to be just the default way of testing new ideas?
So from my perspective, the aha moment will come with the situation that is coming on the market globally, because now people are starting to look for some solutions to save money, to build something with the cut costing approach, and they're looking for the solution to validate the idea and looking for the alternatives. And we call ourselves as an alternative to the traditional software development company, because we are able to prepare something faster, but not as fast as possible, because we still need to be focused on quality, and we need to add to the whole process, for example, quality assurance phase. So we're still thinking that it is coming. We see those small steps on the market, but still it's not it yet. As we run also academy, the No Code Academy in Poland, we see that the interest about changing path, also career path, is also getting more famous, and it's getting more popular on the market. So it's a good sign. When it will happen, my predictions are similar to the Gartner predictions. So at the end of next year, probably it will come, and because now it's getting more popular. Journalists are starting to say about that, writing and considering this as a good alternative. And probably half of the next year will be, okay, let's try it. And the end of next year will be like, okay, that's the solution. Let's verify and let's do something for ourselves.
But there is one problem with the marketing communication from no-code companies. I don't know how you are familiar with the Microsoft websites and the other stuff, but when you're going to the specific technology from Microsoft side, you will see that there is a lot of examples of different large, mid-size, and small-size companies which using their solution.
Right.
On the no-code world, there is no such thing. We have a lot of questions from customers that, hey, what kind of companies using this platform? Is there any big companies using this platform? For example, Bubble or Flutterflow or any other. They asking about the examples of big companies or mid-sized companies or other companies which are using those platforms and for what purposes, what they build with it, how it works, etc. Of course, we have our case studies, but when we talking with customers, of course, we are not the only source of the truth for them. So they're looking for their information. And I think that there is a lot of information about which companies using the no-code platforms and which one. Because there is no information about the companies from Fortune 500, companies that, hey, we're using Bubble, or hey, we're using Xano, hey, we're using this one or this one. There is no such thing on the Bubble pages or Flutterflow or Xano. So that's why people asking and thinking if it's fitting for the mid-size or big-size companies.
The only one that I've seen that's doing that is Webflow. Webflow, I think, has a few like large, well-known companies listed on their home, their homepage. And yeah, I think that does lend credibility to the platform. Now, I don't know if it's not that it's not happening with Bubble or Xano, or it's just that they're not showcasing it for one reason or another. I was hopeful when they started working with doing that collaboration with Microsoft, that there would have been something like that, like, hey, we're a partner of Microsoft. Like, that would have given Bubble quite a bit of clout, but it seems like they put the plugin out, and that was kind of, and they did, they also did that partnership program, and who knows, maybe it was from Microsoft's end. I have no idea, but I would have liked to seen, like, something that Microsoft is using actively internally that's built on Bubble. That would have been a ringing endorsement for the platform, you know?
That will be amazing. That will be
Yeah.
amazing for sure. And we know that there is a lot of several, at least several big companies which are using, for example, Bubble. But I really don't know why Bubble don't use it in the wide marketing, calling to the companies, because of course the main cast, I don't really know, I could be wrong, of course, but right now probably the Bubble put more focus on solo entrepreneurs, not on the companies. And I think that it will change in coming months, and I really hope so, because I think that the most customers which will pay them for a really long time and pay a lot of money will be the companies which will, for example, move their old legacy solution to the new no-code solution, for example, in the Bubble or any other tool. So I think that will pay off.
There's also I don't even know if it's just from the no code tool side, but it's also from the even the solopreneurs and even companies I've heard to say, hey, can you not showcase that this is built on Bubble? Because they think it's going to create a perception, as you pointed out before, like, oh, that's just a toy, that's not a serious development platform. So I think it's from like that perception issue is a challenge from both sides, right? No Cord's marketing may have created that perception, fast, cheap, and easy. And now I think while that helped in some ways, it also is like that now it's a problem because like people are embarrassed to say that like this great tool that we built is built using Bubble, right? So I don't know if there's a way to win there. It's just a side effect of the way that they've approached their messaging.
Yeah, I
It could
think
be
that. Go ahead, Emil.
it could be even better because if the solution is provided with the best practices, the process of getting know with the application is seamless. We don't see the difference between no-code tool and full stack build tool. So it could be even better for the future because, for example, that let's say that a huge brand will give some information to the market. Okay, that's the product we build on Bubble or Zano, or we use other no-code platform or local platform, and we'll say, okay, so thousands of users used it and didn't see any difference.
Yeah.
That would be huge. And
Yeah,
I'm waiting for
exactly.
that, truly.
Now that's a good point. Can you tell how honestly, I feel like it's a concern only for developers, right? Like an end user they're most likely, if it does what they expect it to do, they're most likely not going to think like, oh, what was this built on, right? Like they're just going to use it, and they'll either get confused because the UI wasn't built in a way that was effective for the user experience, but what end user cares how their app was built? They just want it to work. They're never
Yeah,
going to say like, "Oh, this is built on this. I'm not using that." No one gives a shit, especially if you're not technical. So I think it's more of a perception in the development community as opposed to like the end user. Like the end user does not care.
Yeah, definitely. You are absolutely right, because we could see that, of course, this marketing from the no-code companies also is changing, and those moves which Bubble doing with the Microsoft are amazing, because I think that will build the trust for those tools. That if those kind of companies like Microsoft believe in them and cooperating with them, that will change the game and the trust level for this kind of solution, and the people will see that we could really could build the solution which are a real alternative for traditional approach. And this is something what we're doing with our customers, and there is a lot of amazing companies which believing in no code and saying, hey, if it works, and we goes to your case studies and we click through them, see no difference between traditional approach and your approach.
Nice.
And when it's quicker and it's cheaper, of course, and it's solving our problems, why not do that? Nobody will care what technology stack you will use. in the software development. Of course, some companies will because they have some already technology department which have some skills around some technologies. But most of the companies doesn't care in which technology you build some software. So I'm pretty happy because it's changing and people right now start seeing those difference and seeing real alternative in no code. So I think that those whole marketing things also is changing on the no code platforms because I think that they need to somehow break through on the market. So they saying those quite how to say it quite hard sentences about what they would and they hey everybody right now could coding and in pretty an easy way let's build your app within the weeks because they need to be attracted to a lot of people right now when Bubble already have 2 million users. They don't need to, they already attract a lot of people, they already convince some people to use their platform and to check how powerful is it. So right now they changing the whole market language and they
Speaking
right now see hey we are powerful platform, we have a lot of users, we are validated platform and you can build amazing solution based on our solution.
Exactly. So speaking of kind of perception and trust, like that in the same concept of the way that no code needs to, get the perception and trust of the users that go directly to the platform like us. What do you think? How do you think that has an effect, or what's your experience been with being based in Poland and working with clients that are based in other parts of the world, right? Either even if that's other countries in the EU or the American markets. Do you find that you have to overcome hurdles in earning trust with that type of client base versus in Poland, a Polish client may be a little bit quicker to say yes?
Actually, from my perspective, the first thing is that we don't know the market, how it works, how we should approach to the what kind of point of contact we should look for. So this is the main thing because we know that we don't know the behaviors. So, for example, in Europe, LinkedIn works well and we always can contact, we send an invitation, we can start the discussion, send some intro, and it works. It's a good starting point. But for example, from my observations in the United States, it doesn't work that well. A lot of customers that want to reach out, they don't even have a LinkedIn profile sometimes. So that's kind of strange for me. Additional thing that could be challenging for the customers choosing us as a Polish provider is a time zone, and we still are a provider from long distance from Europe, so they don't have the trust that we don't want that disappear immediately because we can have some referrals, we can have some reviews, but still they can't touch and feel that we're present, we're here, and we're part of their team as well. So it's easier locally, definitely, but from our perspective, it's worth to play this game because for us, the biggest income is from the United States. Why? Because in general, no code, low code, it's more popular there, and people are focusing on functionalities, not on looking for the concerns. So the good example could be that could be funny because in Europe, if you try to send the draft of an agreement, we start negotiating from the very beginning. It's a starting point. In the US, let's see that document. It works. Where should I share my company details? And that's it. So there are pros and cons, but still, from our perspective, Europe, US has own differences. For example, for us, reaching out to the customers from Australia is pretty impossible because of a time zone.
Mm-hmm.
So we're partially limited here. but that's not an issue. Still, we won't be able to cooperate with everyone following the sun. So
One of the things that I like, you mentioned about them worried about disappearing, and I think this is something that kind of everybody needs to move past. You can disappear if you're a block away from you. If I live in New York and I hire a New York-based developer that lives a block away from me, they could easily drop me. There is no, and am I really, if I'm a client, am I really going to have the resources to take legal action against that person? I might talk some shit. I'd be like, that developer sucks. I had a bad experience with them. But like this idea that just because someone is based in a foreign country, that it's going to be easier for them to disappear. If you want to disappear, you're going to disappear. Right? There's no stopping somebody. Like,
yeah, my perspective is that's only about the assumptions. We all do some assumptions every day.
Yeah.
So it's the matter of that. I think we should give a little trust, validate the provider. Let's start some cooperation for 20, 50, or 100 hours. Let's see how it works. Yeah, go with the small steps and then decide, because our lesson learned is where we were trying to calculate the whole projects at the very beginning phase. So customers are used to share the briefs, and they usually expect, okay, what's the budget for the whole project? And from our perspective, it's a big guess. At the first phase, it's a big guess. And if someone's claiming differently, probably it's a huge guess as well. So for us, the biggest thing is to give a trust and try some small steps, and then we can decide if it's a good choice or if it's not. Then it's a good approach.
Yeah, as Emil say, there is always assumptions only, because you feel safer when someone or some companies are based in the same country as you,
right?
Because it's always working like that. When you're even ordering something from internet, from a company based in the other country, you're thinking if it will be delivered or not, because you are not sure, because you are not know this market, don't know these people, those companies, etc. So, but I think that United States doesn't really have this problem in the whole overview. So
I think that the U.S. people in the U.S. are more skeptical though of working with developers that are abroad, but I think, as you point out, Emil, that if you're taking small steps to build trust with an agency or a freelancer, and not saying, "Hey, I'm going to give you $20,000 right off the bat, build this app, I'll see you in 3 months." If you approach it that way, it leaves so much that's so much risk on the client side. So there's things that you can do to mitigate that, and just like see whether this person is going to stick with you, and take the time to learn what it is that you're really trying to build, make their own suggestions. That's when I'm looking for, and I've been in the situation where I've been looking for developers also. The way that I vet the developer that I work with, it's not where they're based. It's not on the time zone that they are. Maybe that has some effect a little, but the most important thing is what kind of questions are they asking? Are they asking smart questions to me? If they just say, "Yeah, I can build your app, 20,000," I'm like, how the fuck do you know that? I didn't tell you anything yet. I wrote you one paragraph. How are you going to know that? So
something like, let's guess.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that, that also creates a challenge for the agencies and freelancers that are honest and try to do a good job, because they can't give you that solid number. They're competing with people that are just throwing out a random number and say, "Yeah, we can do this. No problem. No problem. Let's go. We'll get started today." Yeah, we're going to take your money, but you're not going to be happy with what we deliver.
Yeah, exactly. And you are absolutely right, because this is something what we see. We always trying to be as transparent as possible with our customers, and we would like to promise things which we are pretty sure that cannot be done, or we cannot done those. So this is something what our customers also appreciate, because we several times hearing already, because we have 2 customers from the United States which moved to our agency from the United States based agency, because they say, "Hey, they don't listen us. They don't ask the questions. You guys asking questions,
Mm.
and you are curious how exactly it should work, what exactly should be done, and that's why we moved to you, because we have those transparent communication with you. So the borders are not important in that case, because as you say, when
Bravo.
you will ask proper question, you will try understand your customer, what should be done, in what way. For example, when we're building the financial app, I'm not a financial guy. I don't even know what is the tax credit or something like that, because I even don't live in the United States, so I even cannot know that. So, but I could ask, hey guys, how exactly it should work? What should be done on this stage, on this stage, on this stage? I will know how to develop it. You will know how it exactly it should work. So you're absolutely right, John.
Yeah,
How
it's still it's all about assumptions. So if we want to assume how it should work, probably we should assume it won't work well. So the client should assume that we will spend more time and his money. So no
yeah,
assumptions,
yeah,
definitely.
that
We are
makes
clear.
sense. So once you have like moving beyond just the initial trust that you want to build, right, and just getting people to respond, like I think that's step one. But moving beyond that, once you're actually in a client engagement, are there any real differences to how you would engage with someone based in the EU or Poland versus here? I feel like, is software just software at that point, and the same principles apply, or are there different things that you need to, that you find others find important? I don't know. Or
No, we're treating every customer the same. So as I say earlier, we always take care about the transparent communication, about direct channel for communication with our customers. We have always the Slack channel with our customers. We have our customers have access to project management tools, in which we have all the tasks for our developers. They are in direct contact with every team member on our side. So that's why they also feel pretty safe, because they know that if they don't know something or would like to ask something, they will ask the particular responsible person, not someone from the board member or something like that, to have nothing to have not no information about their project or something like that. And before even we start the cooperation with our customers to build the trust, you are always trying to understand what is your goal. That's why when we even receive the brief from our customer, my first question always is, but please tell about your product, what you will build in your own words. Because
yeah,
when people are attracted about their idea, they speaking about them in different way that they describing them, because there is a lot of passion about them. They will told you a lot of details which are very important from the software development perspective. So that's my first question, and always my another question is, what is your goal with that? To understand exactly what is your goal, to serve your internal business or to serve your customers, because of course both approach needs to be take care in quality way, but they're quite different, and the different conception needs to be put it on those kind of projects.
Yeah,
if you have any.
one thing to add also from our perspective, very important thing is to have one decision maker on the customer side. Because if we have some two point of contacts, we have a 2 point of truths, and we don't know exactly what's the expected result. So from our perspective, we also try to emphasize that we want to be in touch with, if it's possible, let's the whole team join, but the one decision maker is needed, because for us is the main thing to have the directions, to have the indicator that we should follow, and then we can have some touch point.
Yeah, one point of contact. I think that is important.
Yeah.
Um, if anyone is in the chat that has a question for Emil and Kamil from Have No Code, throw it in there. I'd like to ask any questions that or answer any questions that people want to ask. Shifting gears just a little bit, guys. The other side of this is the I'd say the more even more difficult in the building an agency side is to hire developers that you can rely on. So how do you again, you've started your own almost no code academy that where you're training these people, and then I assume that they start working for you when they've gone through that, or they've gone and gone into their own freelancing business. Maybe it's a combination of both. But how do you think about, hiring, and what are some of the challenges that you come across with finding reliable developers?
The biggest challenge is that there is not a lot of people who doing that, and who doing that at the proper quality level, because still there is the no code movement is pretty fresh on the market. Even in the United States, or the whole Europe, there is not so much developers to hire on which you could rely always.
Hmm.
Because the traditional programming developers, there is a lot of those people, because this is a lot this is pretty old movement. But when we're talking about the no code, the traditional developers want to do that mostly because they would like to get higher and higher in their skills, get higher level, and they often looking at the no code as some kind of degradation in their work. Of course, those seniors ones, that's the funny thing. The seniors developers don't look at the no code like that, because they see that it will ease their work on the daily basis, because most of the things they will do without the code,
Mm-hmm.
and only those hard part will be done by the code, and that will speed up the whole process.
That makes their life easier.
Yeah, that makes their life easier, exactly. But still, there is not a lot of people to hire. Of course, that's why we also establish our academy to train those people, to show them how to work with that and to hire them. But still, there needs to be time taken for those people to get the knowledge, to get experience, to get hands on the board, on the wheel, and to start working with that. That's the biggest part, because to find people who are attracted to that and who could sacrifice their selves to learn that, there is a lot of those kind of people. But the problem is that they don't have experience, so that's why we're teaching them and encourage them to do that.
I also think there's there's a lack of a accepted standard for what a professional developer, bubble developer is, professional no code developer. We're still figuring out, because it's so new, we're still just figuring out what that even means. And it's really hard to know who knows what. There's no real tests. There's no, there's a couple of certifications that are out there. AirDev has, the certification process to work with them. I think theirs is a very practical approach to, you have to, they basically just give you a challenge and you have to complete it. But that's also very much the way that AirDev wants them to do things, right? Like it's using Canvas, and so that's like hyper specific to the developer that they're trying to attract, versus just a general freelancer. How do you test the quality of their knowledge and beyond just bubble, like, or no code, just like app development in general? So I mean, I suppose your contribution to education is starting App2U and saying like, okay, this is the way that we're going to train our people, and like let's see how big we can grow that. Or
but that's the one approach. But you have perfect note about how to standardize this way. How to standardize, how we checking if someone is a good no-code developer or not. Because, of course, in the IT industry as the whole market, of course, there is a lot of different certification about different technology for Cisco, for Microsoft, for Google, and the other, and the other, the other. And I think that in the no-code market, they will look similar. So Bubble maybe, or Flutterflow, or some other no-code platform in the future will have their certification that, hey, when you know that, we could certify you and tell that you are the proper developer on our platform. But I think also that the no-code platform are similar to each other. So there is similar way of building the apps. So you're building workflows, if this then that, step-by-step workflows, and also you're building the UI. So it also similar on different platforms because you drag and drop different elements on the white pages, basically. So in my opinion, to generalize the whole no-code market and no-code developers, how we could certify them or tell that someone is good or not, I think that there should be some general certification or checking of your personality. If you are some kind of problem-solving person, you are driven by the logic, not by the emotion, something like that, that we checking your advantages and your predispositions as a person, not strictly as a no-code developer or someone like that, because when you know one tool in the no-code world, so for example, when you know Bubble, it will be much more easy for you to start with the Flutter Pro because the whole concept of creation apps is pretty similar and there is no big difference between those two. Of course, you need to know those specific details for every platform and every approach, but still the whole concept is quite similar.
Yeah, agreed. I think that it's like, so I recently started exploring Xano and Flutterflow, and it was pretty easy. Not easy, it still took effort, but the fundamental concepts of database design and even the language that I saw in Flutterflow on how to, like, like workflows and containers and all that was familiar to me with, because I am so familiar with Bubble. So I do think that, yeah, there's definitely crossover in these tools. So okay, so I see what you're saying. Not necessarily this, like, generalizing the syntax of how to build, an expression in Bubble, but broader than that, right? Like testing somebody's logic and beyond just more of a like almost a person. Is there any, like, do you guys have any tests in mind that you're going to build with App2U to test for those kind of things?
So maybe not some kind of testing, but when we would like to hire someone, we always giving some task to them, and we saying, "Hey, you have this problem, solve it. Let's solve it." We don't care, of course, about the UI in most cases because the UI is those easy part. Because most challenging are always workflows, backend workflows, and the other stuff regarding the functionality, not how the application looks like. So we're always challenging people who would like to join to us because, in our opinion, the most important skill at the developer hands, it's how they looking for knowledge, how they looking for the information, and how quickly they could find those information. Because let's say most of the things which we're building or traditional software building are already solved. We know how to build the login screens, we know how to build the video conferencing tools, we know how to build job boards, we know how to build a lot of different stuff. It's already invented. The key to be successful developer is to gather those information, process them, and use them. So that's why we're checking those skills. If they could find those information and they are pretty, how to say, they are pretty quick on that, and they understand what they're reading and what they're finding and what is to be done. So we give them problem, they take in this problem, slice it into single steps, and saying, hey, that's my solution. I find those information, in my opinion, that will work because it was sliced into steps, and I think that will solve the whole problem. And that's the most important thing, because the platform, the other thing, everything could be taught and could be learned. So
right. Yeah, the approach to the problem, I think, is a better test of someone's skill, right? Like, how do they approach problems is a better test than, like, how well do they know Bubble,
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah, and at the same time, we are pretty forced to have really good developers on our side, because as we assume and as we do, we teach people how to become a no-code developer. So we're forced to apply the best practices into every our product that we build, because this is the expectation. This is what we expect from us, from ourselves.
Right.
So this is our partially, I would say it's kind of our responsibility here to hire best players on the market and to teach them how to become one.
Yeah, understood. All right, guys, we're at the top of the hour, so I think we covered quite a bit of ground here. I appreciate you both jumping on. Again, check out havenocode.io. I drop links in the description if you're interested in learning Bubble or No Code App to you.pl. And reviews on Clutch. You guys have great reviews on Clutch, which I don't know if it's as popular here in the US, but it is like a very robust. Like when someone has to leave a review, it's validated, right? It's not. It's very. You got to validate your who you are, and it's reviewed. Like the review is reviewed by them to see if it's like meeting their standards. So it's a very to me it's a lot easier to put. It's more difficult to get a review approved on Clutch than it is on Google, for example, on like Google reviews. I don't even know, or Yelp or whatever other review thing, or even LinkedIn. LinkedIn, it's pretty easy to throw a review up there. So great reviews on Clutch. Again, we've been working together for over a year, and I'm happy with everything that we've done together. I've never have any complaints, and I'm looking forward to continuing to work with you guys, and I appreciate you jumping on today.
Yeah, thank you for having
thank you for your invitation. We are pretty happy to be here.
All right, guys. I will talk to you soon.
Yeah,
Thank you very much, John. Bye bye, everyone.
All right.